I take this opportunity to introduce the speaker for the second session, who would be sharing insights on management concepts from Prashna Upanishads. On behalf of everyone, we welcome you, sir. Sir is a retired professor of operations management at IIM Bangalore. Sir has over 32 years of academic experience. He is known for integrating ancient Indian wisdom into modern management. His expertise spans over electronic auctions, e-commerce, and innovation. Sir has authored a lot of books in commerce and management and also has served on the board of governors at IIM Kashipur since 2015. Sir is also as a founding vice chancellor of Chinmaya Vidyapita. He has established a unique university blending Sanskrit with modern education. Sir is a former chief editor of IIMB Management Review. He has also held visiting scholars roles and administrative positions, and earning to his recognition for his contribution to operation management. So on behalf of everybody, we welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Bhagya. I hope my slides are visible. Thank you, Bhagya. And first of all, let me thank SES for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts. I know SES have been trying to do something on Bharatiya management for quite some time. I'm not really surprised that you want to organize a Navaratri series on Bharatiya management and so on. Now, this whole notion of Bharatiya management has taken different connotations, and people have taken many things under the banner of Bharatiya management, which is a good sign because it shows a certain evolving stage of this. So I thought, let me take something very concrete from the Upanishads and talk to you about some of the potential insights that we can have. So the reason is twofold. First of all, there is this widespread feeling that Upanishads and Vedas, all these, in fact, not just Upanishads and the Vedas, there is a widespread feeling that entire Indian knowledge system is more religious. Even people go to the extent of saying it is all dogmatic, blind belief. So there are a whole lot of things that are running in the minds of people. Partly because that is how we have been sort of educated, we have been brought through that kind of framework. So many well-educated people, otherwise logical thinking people, when it comes to Bharatiya management and when we talk of Indian knowledge system, particularly Vedas, Upanishads and so on, they think, oh, all these are religious. What are they going to offer? So that was behind me in my mind when I thought I should pick up a topic which should dispel this myth that is widely prevalent for no fault of ours. It's just that we have been going through that kind of feeling. So I thought, let me take one of the Upanishads and maybe share some of the management thoughts. So my choice of Prashna Upanishad, let me just give a little background to Prashna Upanishad before we come into what kind of management insights that we have. But before doing that, let me tell you, nearly about 40 years, 37, 38 years back when I was a student of management, we used to have a basic course on management. And the textbook that we were referring at that time and the professors who taught us also told us that the earliest science, earliest understanding of delegation, management is all about delegation, decentralization and so on. Whenever those things are talked about, they say the earliest known things are in Roman Catholic Church, which is a good 2000 years old kind of situation and so on. So right from that time, I used to wonder, is it that late that we knew, or is that something more to it? So these kinds of questions have been running in my mind for the last 30-35 years, and with which I have searched quite a few of our literature, purely looking for some potential understanding of some of the management concepts. Now, Prashna Upanishad has some interesting ideas which I want to sort of share with you today. And as we know, Prashna Upanishad, as the name itself indicates, Prashna means question. So this is Upanishad which is just based on questions and the Guru answers. There are 6 disciples who go to the Guru Pipalada, and then each disciple asks a question and the Guru answers to those questions. And so that is how this Upanishad is structured. So what I am going to do is I am going to take, and each of that question and the set of answers make a chapter. So essentially we are talking about 6 chapters in Prashna Upanishad, because each question forms a chapter beginning, and then there are some mantras which is the reply by the Guru, which in a way answers the question. So therefore I am going to go to chapter 3, which means this is the 3rd disciple, who I think Bharadwaj, I think. So he asks a question to sage Pipalada, and Pipalada answers, gives his reply. So what we will do is, I want to take you through those mantras first. Let's try to also understand what is being written in these Upanishads as such. Then let us bring our own interpretational aspects, because some of the mantras, if you start looking at the meaning, half the interpretation takes place. So with this background, let me move on. So Kausalya, so the 3rd disciple is Kausalya. So he goes to sage Pipalada. So look at here. Atahainam Kausalyascha Ashvalayana Papracha. So he was Ashvalayana. He is also known as Kausalya. Papracha asked, Bhagavan, Kutayesha prano jayate? From where did this prana come? So katam ayatam asmin sharire atmanam va pravibhajya katam pratishtate. So yes, how does this prana which enters into the body, it separates itself? Vibhajya means separate or departmentalize or whatever you want to call, separate it out and so on. So how does it divides itself? How does it go out? Kena utkramate? How does this prana go out? That's the 3rd question he asked. Then he asked, Katam bahyam abhidatte, katam adhyatmamiti. So what is within the body? What is it outside, without? So these are the questions this boy asked. And the sage Pipalada replies, Tasmai saha hovacha ati prashnan prichasi. Oh, you're asking a wonderful question. Ati prashnan means a question which is beyond what one can think of. Brahmishto asiti tasmat te aham brivimi. So you seem to be very interested. So let me answer. Therefore, let me answer. So the first 2 mantras are just the preamble. In the first mantra, some questions are asked. And in the second mantra, Pipalada says, okay, your question seems to be interesting. Therefore, let me answer. So then goes on. Let us see mantras 3 and 4. Now the rest are mantras by Pipalada in reply to what Ashvalayana atava Kausalya he asked. Atmana yesha prano jayate. Yata yesha purushe chaya yetasmin tadadattam manokritena ayattam asmin sharire. So he says, Atmanyesha prano jayate. So the prana is born out of the Atman. And how is it? It is yata yesha purushe chaya yetasmin etadatam. Just like, if there is a person, when he keeps on moving, the shadow also moves. So it is all the time with the person. Wherever the person goes, the shadow goes. So in the same way, so he gives that kind of example. He says, manokritena, by the action of the mind, this prana, which becomes part of the inseparable part of the Atman, it looks like that, and it is inside the body. It ayati asmin sharire. It comes into this body. So he basically explained there is one prana which comes in. That is the third mantra. Then he says, then comes some interesting ideas. Then he says, yata samrad eva adhikritan niyunkte. Just like Samrat. Samrat is a king or a Chakravarti, no? Adhikritan niyunkte. He appoints officers. Adhikarinaha. Adhikritan niyunkte. Yetan graman atitishtati iti eva evam yeshah pranaha itaran pranan prutak prutak eva sannidatte. Just like this officers are appointed for the villages. That's what the sage is saying. And each of that officer is sitting in a village, or whatever is that unit, city or district, whatever you want to call it, one unit where he is given the responsibility, and he is doing the administration. In the same way, yesham eva yesha, in the same way, pranaha itaran pranan prutak prutak meva sannidatte. So this prana also said, okay, I can't manage everything, so let me now bring some more pranas. So the sage is saying, well, there is a prana. This fellow enters into the body. After it enters into the body, it says, I am not able to do everything, so let me just create additional entities. So that much the sage has come in this particular mantra. Then in the fifth mantra, it says, Payupaste apanam. So what are these different pranas? That's a question now. Because now that this prana is decided to bring some more, so the question is, who are they? So that is being explained here. So it says, Payu upaste apanam. So the apana, this particular version of prana called apana, which stays in the excretory organs. Upasta is the excretory organ actually. Chakshusrotre mukanasikabhyam pranaha swayam pratishtete. The prana itself, which is the starting of the whole thing, its region of operation is chakshu, which is eyes, shrotra, the 2 ears, mukha, which is the mouth, nasika. In other words, all the sensory organs are under its control. The prana is residing in that area. So that is the original prana. Madhye tu samanaha. In the Madhya Pradesh, that is our stomach area. In every person's madhye tu samanaha. There is another fellow called samana who operates in the middle portion of our body. Yeshahi etad tu samam nayati. So annam samam nayati. Tam annam samam nayati. Tasmad etaha saptarchisho bhavanti. So what is the samana doing? The sage is explaining what is samaja, the samana is doing. The samana, what it is doing is sapta archisha, 7 flames. Archish is flame. Sapta archisha annam samam nayati. So it actually works on the food actually and distributes that energy equally. That is what this samana is doing. So that's what this sage is saying. Then he goes on, Kriti Hesha Atma. So it is now introducing the next one. And he says this next fellow's seat of operation is the heart. Kriti Hesha Atma. Atra Etat Ekashatam Nadinam. 100. There are 100 nerves which are coming out of that. Tasam. Out of these, Shatam Ekaikasyat. For out of which, out of every 100, 101 comes. Shatam ekam means 100 plus 1. Then now you have 100. So think about it. There is this heart, which is the origin of all these, out of which 100 nerves are coming. From each of the 100 nerves, 101 are branching out. So 100 into 101 is what we are talking about. Then he says, Dvasaptatihi pratishaka nadi sahasrani. Dvasaptati is 72. Nadi Sahasrani is 1,000. So out of each of these, 72,000 branches emerge. Bhavanti Asu Vyanaha Charati. So this another prana version of prana called Vyana. This Vyana is operating from the heart, according to sage Pipalada, and it has 100 into 101 into 72,000 branches. So it is basically spreading through the entire thing, and it goes up to all the, hey, 1 minute, just give me a minute. Just give me. So what essentially it is saying is from the heart, 100 branches, from each of the 100 branches, 101 are coming. From each of those 100 into 101, 72,000 are coming. This describes the entire Dhyana Vayu. So that is the third. So now we have Samana has been described. Okay. Prana himself is operating at one region. Okay. There is another one which is Apana, which is operating the excretory region, and Vyana is operating in the, throughout the body. It is going through all these huge number of branches. This much this sage has come. Now he talks about another beautiful prana, one of the prana called Udana. We have heard all these, we have heard all these, but we have not understood what exactly they are getting into. Ata Ekyoho Urdvaha Udanaha Punyena Punyam Lokam Nayati Papena Papam Ubabhyameva Manushya Lokam. So then he says there is another fellow called Udana. What he does is that fellow takes this Atman out of the system. This Atman is going in the body. If somebody dies, you have to take it out. That was a question that boy asked. So that is done by Udana. So it says if you did punya, it pulls this Atman out of the body and takes it to the Punya Loka. If he does Papa, he takes it and take it to the Papa Loka, whatever. If he has a mix of Punya and Papa, he takes him to the Manushya Loka. Anyway, leaving those details aside, what it is saying is Udana Vayu is the one which is pulling this prana out of this body. So when everyone dies, we need to understand this. When everyone dies, it is this Udana Vayu which actually pulls this, that vital energy, whatever you call it as. In the Western Semitic religion, they call it as soul. Here we call it as Atman. That Atman is pulled out of this mortal body and taken out, and that responsibility is given to Udana. That's what the sage has introduced this Udana to be. Then he gives some more. So basically, the two more mantras with this chapter ends. Then we have to really interpret the management out of it. So now the sage says, Tejaha hava udanaha tasmat upashanta tejaha punarbhavam indriyehi manasi sampadyamanaihi. In fact, this Udana is nothing but fire. It's Tejas. Therefore, if Udana goes, then if it exits the body, then Upashanta Tejaha. I mean, the body becomes cold. See, that's what happens when people die. That 98.6 and all is gone because this Udana has gone out. Punarbhavam indriyehi manasi sampadyamanaihi. Now this Udana gets absorbed and then it goes along with the mind elsewhere to continue its journey. So that's what it is actually saying in the 9th mantra. In the 10th mantra, the says something else. He says, Yachittaha te tena yesha pranam ayati pranastejasa yuktaha saha atmana tata sankalpitam lokam nayati. So whatever is his thought, Yachittaha tena yesha pranam ayati. When he gives up his body, whatever thoughts that were in him, this Udana actually takes that Atman out of this and carries it to that. Yatha sankalpitam lokam nayati. Whatever is the thought, it takes there. So now what is happening is this Udana is playing, as I have written here, Udana is playing two important roles. One role is to rescue from danger. See, death is what? Death is for the body, but it is a danger for the Atman. The Atman may get stuck, So the Atman has to be pulled out. So that role is played by Udana. Then also the Udana creates the continuity. It re-establishes and restores this Atman elsewhere. So this is all, that's all. Chapter 3 is over. I think there are no more mantras to really see. Now we need to really understand what management are we talking about. Now, before we go further, let me also tell you, although it is not part of this mantra, this udana that we are talking about, what is explained in this mantra is only strategic role. What is the strategic role? It is contingency planning, emergency planning. If something happens, continuity planning. That's what they use to these days. Continuity planning. So that's a strategic role. If the Atman is endangered, so you need a mechanism. That mechanism is played by Udana. So that is a strategic role. But Udana also plays a tactical role, which all of us know. So let me explain it. Suppose, let us say there is a thin micron thickness hair which is on our tongue. I mean, we all have this experience. Moment there is a small little hair in our tongue, what happens is we become very, very restless because, there is a certain restlessness. So what do? We get very uncomfortable. We probably put our hand and try to take the, hair out, or we go and spit, or something we do, because that discomfort will not allow us to do anything. This is one example. Another example, suppose we consume poison, let us say, food poison. Sometimes there is a little bit of a food poisoning that happens. When there is a food poison, what really happens is Udana Vayu starts working. What it does is it fights, it mounts, fighting system. And so the whole body, if the poison is at the smaller intestine, you vomit and then you just throw it out. If the poison has gone little deeper into our digestive system, it goes into the larger intestine, the system purges it out. If it is unable to do both, then what happens is, it mounts a fever. You get fever, you get admitted, so many things happen. All these are done by Udana Vayu. This is another role that Udana Vayu plays, which the sage has not said, because this text is more a philosophical text, so he's not bringing those issues. But for the sake of continuity, I wanted to actually tell you that. Now, so far we have seen Prashna Upanishad, this chapter 3. Now comes the question, what is it actually communicating? Is there interesting management lessons here? We will see that. So look at how can we understand these mantras from a management perspective? What is the first mantra? First mantra said prana takes charge. It enters into the body. Because of the mind, it comes into the body and it takes charge. That means clearly prana is the CEO and it clearly has a unity of command. And then it says, there's a very beautiful example which the sage gave. He said, the king cannot administer all by himself. Therefore, he appoints ministers. So in the same way, the prana also says, I can't handle everything. Here lies the core principle of delegation and decentralization. This is exactly what is communicated here, that one person cannot do anything. In fact, in Arthashastra, there is a very beautiful mantra where Kautilya says, when he talks about Amatya, he says, why do you need Amatyas? Why do you need ministers? Then he says, there are 3 conditions. He says, Anekasta, sta means tala. Anekasta means different places. Aneka, different type of work. Yugapat, these activities happen simultaneously. Think of a large country. Hundreds of activities happen. And hundreds of activities happen simultaneously at different places. So in Arthashastra, he says that one person cannot handle everything all by himself or herself, because we have to take care of citizens in a time-bound manner. Tasmat amatyam karayat. That's the first definition for amatya. So this idea of delegation and decentralization, you will find it beautifully in Arthashastra also. In fact, the book 2 of Arthashastra has enormous discussions on what is called this decentralization and delegation of authorities and so on. So here also you find that in the first mantra 4 and 5, the Pipalada is clearly saying that prana is the CAO, it takes charge, and then it said, okay, I cannot handle all these by myself, so let me get 3-4 more people. Then what did the other mantras said? The other mantras said that I should allocate responsibilities. That's why it clearly talked about what is the zone of operation. It said, Apana Vayu will be in the excretory area. Samana Vayu will be in the Madhya Pradesh. Vyana will be throughout the body through multiple number of paths. And then prana itself will be handling some part of it. So independent domains of operation. The idea of that a good management requires allocation of responsibilities. A good management requires roles and responsibilities. Good management requires independent domains of operation. So, Vyana should not be doing what Samana is doing. Samana should not be doing what Udana is doing. It will all be chaos. You have to allocate it, create independence, make them responsible. Those ideas come by just, observing these pranas that we have in our body. That is what our ancestors have actually thought about. So, and control. Each one of them must have its own control in the domain of operation, but all of them have an ultimate control on prana, because when prana goes out, everything goes out. That's the end of the story. The plug is pulled. When you pull the plug, everything is over. So very clearly, you don't have to say every day that I am the CEO. You don't have to say every day I am superior to you. By your action, by the way you have allocated responsibilities, by the way you have your reporting structures, everybody understands that who has the ultimate control. So the prana clearly establishes it, which is what the sage is saying. Then comes the third idea of udana. Udana is all about handling exceptions, emergency and security issues. That is very important for an organization. Today we talk so much about continuity planning. Say there is, you may be, aware of it. Some 15-20 years back, all the top management of a particular company were flying in a plane, and the plane crashed. So it created such a vacuum in the company. Then, people learn from it, and they said we have to do, contingency planning. We have to do emergency planning. We should know how to handle exceptions, how to handle emergency. All those come out of Udana. The Udana Vayu actually reminds us of that crucial role every organization must have to ensure we are capable of handling exceptions, handling emergency and security issues. And what is the security issue? Udana is the gatekeeper. That's why it will not allow even a micron thickness hair to enter into your system. It will, open up and then create so much of discomfort. It will fight with antibodies, fever, when there is a food poisoning. All these are security, gatekeeping. So those issues are coming out of Udana Vayu. So as I told you, the Udana Vayu requires interesting understanding. So as I already told you, at a strategic level, it rescues, restores, and it makes sure continuity of operations, continuity of the Atman. So organization, we have to think through Udana. We have to think through Udana at a strategic level. We have to think through Udana at an operational level. How do you safeguard the system from attacks, dangers, or some confusions, some sort of mix-up that happens? So what happens when there is a micron thickness hair? As I told you, what happens when food we take was poisonous? Essentially, in these both the examples, Udana Vayu highlights what is it doing actually. It is immediately highlighting and reacting to the problems. Now, when I was reading about this Udana Vayu about, 25 years back, I think, I was consulting for one of a large manufacturer in this country. And so let me tell you, when I was reading this role of Udana Vayu, I was greatly inspired by this idea of Udana Vayu. And I actually, at the time of consulting, it so happened I read this. So I used Udana Vayu and then redesigned the shop floor. So let me show a little bit of that. Only then we'll understand how these concepts can come so handy when we understand the meaning of it. So I went to a large manufacturer. This is, I can tell the name Thermax, Thermax Limited, Pune. And they have a vapor absorption heat pump, chiller shop. Chiller is called vapor absorption heat pump. So the problem was, these heat pumps, these vapor absorption heat pumps are all huge pieces of machine. The machine itself will be several tons, some 20 feet long. So heavy piece. You have a lower shell. On the top of it, you have a higher, upper shell. Then there are copper tubes which are inserted through which steam flows. Basically, it is heat exchange. And then through Joule-Thomson effect, something it is cooling. This is the idea. But these equipments are all very, very large. So what was the problem? The problem was the shop floor was in a mess. I have, pictorially shown something here. Roughly, you have the blue ones are larger chiller plant. They call it chiller plant because it's a plant literally. The orange ones, let us say, are the medium size, and the yellow ones are smaller size. Basically, they are so huge. So you bring it in a crane, just drop it on the shop floor wherever there is space, the lower shell, then start assembling on the top of it. So many people will work on it, and then you somehow assemble it and get it out. This is what was happening. So when I went there, I asked them, what is happening, sir? There is so much of inventory. We are not able to manufacture, and there is so much of delay, etc. I said, can you tell me how many chillers are in the shop floor? What is the work in progress? They said, sir, that's very hard to tell. Because, it's all over the place. And it's very difficult to compute and even tell you. But all that we can tell you, there is a lot of inventory. Now, let us look at from the concept of Udana. Now, if this problem is there, this problem must be highlighted. If there is a mechanism by which you can automatically highlight this problem, you have built Udana into the system. So this was what I was inspired with. So I said, okay, let us do something else. Let us do something and redesign this. So it took about 3 months. We completely reworked the entire shop floor. I'll show you how it looks like. So this is the redesigned shop floor. We calculated what is the demand for large, small, and big. Based on that, we configured 18 positions in the shop floor. And in the 18 positions, a certain number of them are for big, a certain number of them are for medium, and a certain number of them are small. Depending upon the demand, we can always do it. Then we painted everything on the floor, which means you cannot haphazardly, place the lower shell. It has to be exactly kept. We even painted where will people stand and insert the copper tubes, where is the helium testing, where is the carbon dioxide, where will be the parts be placed in the shop floor. Everything was painted. So what you see here is sort of a top view. So we did all that. And after about 2 months, I went back again and I asked the shop floor manager, sir, how is it happening? How is the redesign? He said, sir, it's wonderful. I practice what is called walkthrough management. I said, what do you mean walkthrough management? See, as you see here, this is a top view. Just above it, there was a cabin where the works manager used to sit for this shop floor. So he has a glass cabin. From there, he can actually look at this entire shop floor. He said, sir, nowadays, thanks to your design, I just come out of the cabin and then stand there. I know what is happening here. I know that 10 is not working. 2 is not working, 17 is not working, the remaining are all working. I don't need any reports. I know it is not working. I don't have to. Earlier, we don't even know which chiller shop, which chiller in this example, what you see here, which chiller is waiting for material, which chiller is getting processed. Nothing was known because it was all haphazard. Whereas in this revised design, because they are so beautifully organized, he said, sir, I don't need any report. I know that these 2, 3 are not working. Now, if I get down and walk through the system, suppose 9 is not working. If I go near 9, I can very easily find out why it is not working. Very easily, I can find out why it is not working, because maybe there is a material missing, because everything has its place and everything has to be kept in its place. This is exactly called building Udana Vayu in the shop floor design. Why? Because all first principles of Udana are, honored here. Moment the slightest problem comes, it pops up. It doesn't allow the problem to pile up. No, I asked him, sir, what is the biggest advantage of this? Sir, you have given a design in which the work in progress cannot be more than 18. Earlier, it used to be anywhere between 22 to 40, and we had no clue of what was happening. By virtue of this design, there are only 18 chillers that we can at most manufacture, not to more than that. So you have put a control on how much inventory will be in the shop floor. You have given us a system by which immediately we will know what is happening. I don't need really reports. It is all visible management. So essentially, Udana is now being incorporated into this particular shop floor design. I was very much happy about this. All that I did was I looked at the first principle of Udana, and while I am redesigning this factory, I said, let me now incorporate Udana into the system. So think about how we need to connect these two ideas. Okay. What also we did is for each material storage, you see on the top there are boxes which says material storage, because so much space was released. By a little bit of orderliness, we released a lot of space. Therefore, we were wondering what to do. So for each one of the workstation, we create a material storage, and we knew what are all the items will go into it. So we thoroughly studied the length and the size of it, shape of it, how many items go into it. We designed a rack, and we said every item will be kept exactly here. Now, what is the biggest advantage? Biggest advantage is moment the material is shortage, it will show up, because this particular let us say station 10 is not working. You go near that material storage, you will find that some materials are missing there. That's why this is not working. So everything became visible. The management becomes a lot more easier. So this is something which I thought I will share with you, how we built Udana into the shop floor design. Okay, so let me sort of conclude how this whole thing can be understood from Prashna Upanishad. What is Prashna Upanishad saying? It says there is something called prana. And what is that prana? It is the overall administration, allocation of duties, external interface, strategic planning, everything this prana has to do, because that's the CEO of the system. Samana. Samana is the core operations, processing, value creation. For a human body, let me tell you, the value is created only in Madhya Pradesh. Your food that you take is converted into energy in the digestive system. If the digestive system is not working, the liver is not working, it's a matter of time, because we will have no energy. So the value creation is indicated, the core operations that is required for every business, which is the vitality for the business to go on, is indicated by Samana. Okay, that is required for sustenance. Then you have what is called Vyana. And what is this Vyana? Vyana is a beautiful logistics and distribution and transportation system, called third party, fourth party logistics, whatever. Whatever material, signals, motor, controls for motor signals, controls, messaging, everything in the body goes only through the nervous system, and that is called Vyana. And modern medicine confirms these numbers actually very closely. So every organization must have a fantastic information and logistics, distribution and transportation mechanism. That is what is indicated by Vyana. Then you have Apana. Apana is what? It is actually quality control, maintenance and waste disposal. That's a very crucial role. If the Apana is not working, you can read other Upanishads to even get. You read a Brihadaranyaka Upanishads, you'll understand the importance of these pranas also. So, quality control. If the digestive system is working, but excretory system is not working, we have a problem. The waste disposal is not happening, the whole body will militate against, the Udana Vayu will come up and then do something about it. So the Udana is the entire operational control mechanism, both at a strategic and tactical level. Safety, it does security, it does emergency planning, the entire control system. The master control system is a centralized mechanism, which is the Udana Vayu. And it plays a very important role of immediately flagging what can happen to individuals, what can happen to the whole body, which every individual is carrying until we die, and so on. So all these ideas are contained in these 10 mantras. So in a way, to put it as a conclusion, every organization requires core operations. The equivalent of that human body is taken care by Samana. Every organization requires a top management, which is the seat of control. In our body, that is called the prana. Every organization requires logistics and distribution, which is called Vyana, right? In Pipalada's own words. And you have the maintenance, quality, and waste disposal, which is called actually, Apana. And finally, you need critical control and signaling and security. All those are very important. Continuity planning, etc. All these are done by Udana. So by understanding these 5 pranas, which is part of our human body, or by even introducing this concept, one can introduce a good idea of what comprises a sustainable management system, what kind of features are required to make it happen. And so that's what this whole idea is. I thought I will take a very specific example like this as Bharati management idea, because I want to dispel this myth that Vedas and Upanishads are only religious and they are of no use for day to day and things like that. I have constantly inquired and found a number of such ideas in many of our scriptures. So I thought I will just share this with you. Thank you for this opportunity. I will stop sharing, and then Bhagya can take it over and then go through QA. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir, for your insightful session. Now I request the participants to post your questions if you have any in the chat box.
Sir, I think your example made it a brilliant session, sir. Wonderful.
No, there are some on the chat box. How Udana contribute towards attainment of sustainable goals of organization? There is one question which I see. Certainly, as I told you, an organization can sustain only when you are not stuck in a danger. When you have some troubles going forward, you need to immediately, flag and take corrective action and so on. So if that is not happening, then the organization cannot sustain. So Udana is the only element which ensures that we can, sustain and go after sustainable goals of an organization. Well, there is a question on people giving prana to the dead. I will not take that question. While that is true, I don't think it is in the context of today's talk. All that I will say is some of the siddhis are like short circuit. People very rarely use those siddhis. While many have those siddhis, they use it only when there is a larger message to be actually conveyed and communicated and so on. Anyway, I will leave that. Throw some light on the concept of neti. Okay, neti is a very beautiful concept in the Indian way of teaching. If you have to explain something extremely complex, something with which you cannot do it with a physical model or a physical example, you cannot even comprehend through your indriyas, your sensory organs. How do you actually explain? The best way to do is what is called neti. Neti means na iti. So the best way to explain is you have to say, this is not what it is, this is not what it is, this is not what it is. By progressively removing such things, you are only narrowing down the ambiguity that we inherently have on, see, Atma Vidya is purely, something which is beyond the Indriyas. So the best thing that we can do is to reduce the ambiguity by removing things which we thought is Brahman. So saying this is not Brahman, at least we'll be out of that. So that's the methodology. I mean, anyway, I've given a very short answer to that question. Okay, so do the shlokas actually describe the design and process of the 5 pranas operating in the body? No, it is. It has no. It has basically the mantras 4 to 10 in a way, it says how the pranas are operating. I mean, in the Indian tradition, not much is written. The people know it much better, so they write less so that it's easy to commit to the memory, and then they explain it. They don't write elaborate pieces because we didn't have printed material where you have one book only for left finger and another book for the right thumb and all. We don't do all those. If you take Aryabhatta will also talk philosophy, he'll also talk mathematics, he'll also talk aesthetics and so on. So being concise is the name of the game. There's a lot of interpretation. The responsibility of deeply thinking and interpretation is part of this culture. Therefore, I will be surprised to see very detailed things written in any of the Indian knowledge system. So that's not the way it is done. Parabrahmane Swaha is more a philosophical thing. It constantly reminds us that everything is coming from the top and so on. That's how that particular idea comes. Whereas in the Upanishad, there is a clear demarcation of how the prana is actually, trying to delegate and those kinds of things. I don't understand the next point. Take the Atman. How does Udana take the Atman? Udana does not take the Atman. The CEO appoints somebody who is trustworthy to redeem the CEO. I mean, this is very common. I do not know whether you are aware of it. The CEO appoints somebody who is highly trustworthy so that in case of any danger or a contingency, you can rely on them. In fact, I am told, I don't know how much it is true, I am told that when Sanjay Gandhi died, when the plane crashed in 84, 82 or something, 83, I don't remember, Indira Gandhi immediately went to Safdarjung Airport because Indira Gandhi had left some of the important things with Sanjay Gandhi. So she had to collect those sort of important, this is what he is saying. I don't know how far it is true. But the point is, Udana does not take the Atman. The Atman appoint the Udana. Okay, I understand what you are saying. How does the Udana take the Atman out of the body? You need to read Taitra Upanishad. In the Taitra Upanishad, first chapter, you will find the details. I'm not, getting into the details of that now. There is a process. There is a way it is. See, you have to look at different Upanishads because these things are told in different details in different places. Unless you properly understand all of them, the wholesome picture sometimes evades us. Yeah. Of owner-driven organization, which will have very little dissemination of work, how to apply these concepts. Of course, the one-man startup and even that startup growing into a 100-man army, these concepts are not required. The CEO himself has to delegate. He should say between morning 9 to 11, let me work on the logistics part of it. From 11 to 12, let me focus on the core operation. So you have to do a multitasking. The ideas don't evaporate. Only thing is the same person may have to do all that until the organization grows large enough where you may have to really do it. Is this Yartha Maya? I have a weekly satsanga. Please come there. You will find answers for this question. Yeah. I don't understand what is this Dhananjaya. What about the prana called Dhananjaya? Vaishwanara I have heard. Dhananjaya I do not know. So I am unable to answer this. Okay. I think I have gone through the set of chats that I have here. If you have any more questions, you can. I am willing to spend a little time. Yeah.
So thank you so much for your wonderful insights on the particular topic. The way you navigated to management with simple examples was excellent. So the workstations, the way you gave an example was very enlightening to all of us to understand that how much we can appreciate our the sense of it's not only all about Vedas and things, but also a lot of things can be connected to management. Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful session.
Thank you, Bhagya. I'm sorry, unfortunately, I'm unable to join through video. Something happened. I've been trying to fix it. It says it was already 6:30, so I just gave it up. Thank you for this opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I would like to thank everybody for joining this session. And I would like to thank both the speakers of today's session for giving a lot of insights to how we can connect our ancient wisdom to the modern management. Thank you very much. So we'll meet you tomorrow. Shubh Ratri.